Officially hit record, and welcome everyone to another episode of 613BeerCast, the podcast show where we just realized we were using the microphones backwards.
Well, sort of head on when rather we didn't realize that there was a front and a back to these microphones, and you learn something new every day, and now we might actually have some better sound quality.
Now you might hear us better, or you might hear us drinking better.
That might be a little bit more challenging for the...
More of the gulps, and more of the sips, and more of the disgusting drinking noises that is really painstaking to take out of a podcast. But I guess before we start opening beers, I'm Katie Watts, and with me is...
Chuck T. Bear, as always.
And today we're actually going to go through half, or part one, of a two-part beer pack that was released all over Canada, though most of Canada, I think, got a single pack.
Yeah, most of Canada got a 12-pack, from what I understand. And Ontario got 2 6ers. I guess the LCBO and its inability to sell 12-packs sort of affected how we could sell it here. So searching them down just meant you had to search down 2 rather than just 1 pack.
Always have to go the extra distance here in Ontario. So, of course, we're talking about the Red Racer Across the Nation Collaboration Pack, East and West, in Ontario.
Well, Ontario is included in East.
Yes, well, you know what I mean. But, so this pack comes in, again, in Ontario, comes in 2 6-packs, East, West, and I believe they were available at the LCBO for $14.95 a 6-pack, I think.
Yes.
Yeah. And I don't know what the other prices were across the province, but...
I didn't do any research for pricing across the province.
Absolutely not. We don't care about pricing here. Absolutely don't care. So we're going to do the East pack first.
Yes. And I think I have them arranged geographically from west to east. So we'll start in Ontario. I always have a bit of a weird pick of what's further east, PEI or Newfoundland. I guess if you include Newfoundland Labrador, which you should, I guess the end point of Labrador is probably more east than the end point of PEI. And that's how I did it, to choose the end points and not the beginning points, because I think they overlap there.
See, I love how Chuck went really deep into sorting these beers, and I was just kind of like, give me a beer, Chuck. And he's like, no.
Hold on.
There must be a reason to the beer we drink.
You have to have a perfect order, and it has to be geographic.
So the first one we're having, as Chuck said, was the Ontario one, which was brewed with or by Beau's All Natural Brewing Company. So that's right here-ish. We like to claim them as being from Ottawa, even though we know they're not from Ottawa. They're from Van Cleek Hill, Ontario. And they did a beer called Upper Reaches Pale Ale. And the description for this one is, reaching for the trees in Upper Canada, this collaboration brew uses peaches and Ontario white spruce tips for a totally inspired, refreshing flavor. Fancy.
Very fancy. So, I mean, that was kind of the method to my madness of sorting as well. I figure we've talked a lot about Ottawa beers. That's kind of what we do here. So let's start with the local, the one that we kind of know the most about, and then we'll start exploring from there. Start in our comfort zone and then go forward, or go eastward, as it were.
Okay, so I want to talk more about what this pack is, but already, so when I smell this, it smells kind of funky. It smells a little bit tart, right? It smells like that peach, I guess.
Yep.
But then when you drink it, it's a whole lot of tree in your mouth. Whole lot of tree in there. I know. Chuck is grimacing at my descriptors here, but...
You got to cut this, but all I can think of is a whole lot of wood in your mouth.
I'm going to keep that in.
No, you can't keep that in.
I am. That's why I didn't say wood. I said tree.
I know. You just set me up.
I know, I did.
Set me up for that fall.
But yeah, this is very earthy. Very earthy. It has a big... And this isn't... I find this is that sprucey flavor is very much a... You either like it or you don't, I find.
Yeah, absolutely.
Especially when it's that prominent in a beer.
Yeah, when it's more subtle, you can kind of get away with it kind of blending in with the hops. This one, it's it's not super in your face. Like, it's not overwhelming, but it's certainly there. It is what you taste first. The peaches do come through a little bit near the end, I find. And the more it sits, I can kind of feel that or taste that blend of the spruce and the peach. It is certainly something that would be hard to drink a lot of, but
Yeah.
it's tasty and it's in this little sample. So in that case, these bottles are probably the perfect size, the standard 341s.
Yeah, no, it's a good way to do it. And I guess it's important to say, so these were brewed at Central City Brewers and Distillery, which is in Surrey, British Columbia. So that meant that all the breweries involved, from Beau's in Ontario to whichever brewery in Northwest Territories, they all traveled to Surrey, British Columbia to brew on the system at Central City Brewers.
It's kind of a neat way to meet a bunch of people across the country.
It is. Can you imagine, like, brewers all across the country, right there, and like from all far reaches of the country too.
And they're doing actual technical work, unlike the CBAs, which we've just talked about, where they're just coming to hang out
And party.
And party. Or they were doing legit technical work with that. Now, I would wonder how much pre-recipe design there was before they showed up in Surrey.
And I think probably quite a bit, because this is a massive undertaking. So not only do you have 12 different beers, the only territory that's missing is Nunavut for those ticking off the provinces and territories on your hands. And so in order to make sure everyone didn't submit like an IPA, although honestly to have a 12-pack of IPA from across the country.
Imagine if they did the
Yes.
same base beer with hops grown from different areas of the country.
Chuck, now I think we're just setting up like a sequel to this pack.
The-
Ooh, or like wild yeast.
Oh, so there would be like two different packs: the IPA.
We can do like
and
a
your
pack
sour
series.
Pack. Yeah, let's get on this, breweries.
Yes, we don't actually want to do this ourselves, like do the work to do it, but we will give you ideas on how you can do this.
And we will buy it. I
Yes,
promise.
we so you have two sales right here. They had to figure out what they were going to brew. So in order for them to make sure that it's not a pack of IPAs that I would enjoy, I'm not saying I don't enjoy this pack, they had to get the brewers to submit 3 recipes as a shot. So, and then I don't know how that came about, like who decided, no, you can't brew the IPA, you can. Or you can brew this, you can't brew that. But they managed to make the recipes their own by using different unique flavors and ingredients from their home province or territory.
And again, I guess that's an interesting way. So they design the recipes in 3 different styles. I wonder how much, because if you show up with a recipe and the guys in Surrey don't have the stuff that you need, I guess that's one way to exclude that recipe.
For sure, yeah.
But
what if you're like the guy who comes or the girl who comes with 3 what you think is awesome recipes, and then another province comes and says, well, I have also these 3 awesome recipes and they're the same recipes as you. And all of a sudden you're like, okay, which one gets what, which one, right?
rock, paper, scissors.
Yes. Or it must be like a more Canadian way of doing this, like, I don't know.
Well, if it's brewers, drink a beer until you pass out. Whoever passes out last gets first choice.
That's an awful way to pick a choice. Anyway, next beer.
Next beer.
Next, where are we traveling to next, Chuck?
Not too far away from us.
Okay.
Right across the bridge.
Ooh.
Right where most of us were going to go if the LCBO actually went on strike.
Oh, that's not even... I was so hoping they were going to strike. I was really looking forward to a long strike. I was kind of taunting them on Twitter. I was like, let's do this. Let's go. I'm ready for it. Bring it. And then they were like, nope.
No, as they did in the last 2 times they were threatening to strike. Once again, turns out they didn't.
So I'm guessing we're going to Quebec.
That's correct.
And so this is the collaboration with Le Trou du Diable. Okay. I'm sorry. My French, very poor. I did go to French class, but something didn't stick. So I really apologize. So Bouclier Canadien Pilsner. So it's brewed with New World hops. This Pilsner takes a tropical and aromatic approach to brewing from the Canadian Shield, or Bouclier Canadien. This is a Canadian hop twist on the Pilsner style.
Cool.
And somebody will, I'm sure, if you can, please record you saying that word. Send it to me on 613BeerCast After Dark, our Facebook group, and I will correct myself. Because I know my pronunciation is god-awful.
We'll splice you into the next podcast
Yes,
to correct this.
then I will be like, and then we'll just have it like as a soundboard. We'll be like, and how do you pronounce that, Katie? Hold on. Boop. That's what I need. I just need to have like my French soundboard here, a French beer words.
That would be great. I know somebody who might be able to do that.
I know.
Get Chris from Hops and Bros.
I know. We could actually have that. We could have the Chris soundboard. Can you imagine? Oh my god. It would have to have like a beard on it though, like an artificial beard coming off of it.
That would be hilarious.
So, Trou Diable, great brewery. I think they're well known for several beers, like the Saison de Tracteur
Yes.
is a popular one. A few others. There's what is it, the Shawinigan... Don't they have like a Shawinigan handshake?
Yes, I believe that's them
Yes.
too. Yeah, this is another brewery that at least I'm fairly familiar with from going to a few Festa Bières across the river. They are one of the more prevalent,
Yeah.
might be the word to use. In Quebec, they do a lot of different styles and a lot of good beer, and I guess I mostly know them for sort of their sours and a little bit more experimental side. So having a pretty straightforward Pilsner is a new twist for me. Not when I say straightforward, I don't mean
you dissing
boring.
this beer?
No, not boring in any way. This is a really nice, refreshing beer. It's a little bit of citrus on it, but it's mostly that sort of
Kind of like the sweeter citrus, so like maybe like a pineapple, but not pineapple, if you know what I mean.
yeah, exactly.
Like a sweet citrus, not like not like a lemon, not even like an orange, kind of like a more in the pineapple-y kind of way, but
yeah, almost like a mix of that. Almost like
Yeah.
like if you ask somebody to pick out citrus as a flavor, this is kind of where they would come from,
Right.
rather than saying you can't make it orange, you can't make it grapefruit, you can't make it anything specific. You just have to make it citrus. This is kind of that flavor, but it still has that sort of grassy, earthy hop flavors that you expect from Pilsners. But at least that's what I pick up mostly from Pilsners.
I guess that's the Canadian Shield they're speaking about in the description, right? So we are drinking the Canadian Shield.
That's okay by me when it tastes like this.
Yeah. I feel like if you were to go up to the Canadian Shield and try to like suckle it, you would not get that kind of flavor.
This flavor might be different than that.
Potentially, yes. You may get like a whole bunch of dirt and who
Yes.
knows what else. I would love to see that though. Please do it in front of me. I promise I won't take many videos.
Not many.
Okay, where are we traveling to next?
All right, so next is New Brunswick.
Ooh, so I don't know very much about New Brunswick beers. I believe, though, this one we're somewhat familiar with because they're one of the more well-known New Brunswick breweries.
Yeah, this is one that makes it to us quite a bit. I know a little bit more. I did travel to the East Coast 2 summers ago and did quite a bit of brewery visits, including visiting this brewery in person.
So by this brewery, this is Picaroons Traditional Ales, and the beer is Restored Hope, ESB. New Brunswick was largely founded by French descendants and United Empire loyalists, which inspired the province's motto, Spem Reduxit,
Yeah, Spem Reduxit.
meaning hope is restored. For this reason, we have brewed this classic English style of an extra special bitter.
And by the way, when I said it, that was my take on it. That's not
I
me.
don't-
That's not me saying it's more correct than Katie's pronunciation.
What are you talking about? We all know my pronunciation here is excellent. I am the best at pronouncing things, especially after I've had like 1,000 beer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course, that's when everybody's pronunciation gets better.
Yes. So,
So this will be the interesting part of it. So most of these breweries, because I had just visited the East Coast, I know I was pretty familiar with their names. I did visit the West Coast, well, the far West Coast, so I know a few of those. I'm looking forward to the West side of
I'm hoping
things,
it's
though.
all IPAs.
Yeah, that would be for that reason. But a lot of those breweries I'm not familiar with. So these ones,
Yeah.
this is a fairly familiar pack for me. I've had a lot, not these particular beers.
I feel like if you're from Ontario, and you're most likely to know people who either have family or were from out east, or you're more likely to travel out east because it's an easy it's an easy vacation road trip
Yes.
versus having to go out west, which is just a pain in the ass to get out of Ontario.
Well, you have to travel as far as almost Nova Scotia
Yeah.
to get out of Ontario.
So
The other way, that is.
that's really hard, and we're very lazy. And there's only so much Tim Hortons coffee you can drink.
Really, there is.
So this one has a interesting, like, the aroma's kind of like very like mineral-y, very kind of like malty, that kind of thing. But then when you taste it,
There's a lot of caramel on that, and a little bit of that bitterness. It's just what you would expect out of an ESB, but it's certainly not like an IPA bitterness.
I like how you said caramel.
Caramel? Like
Caramel.
oh, like no caramel. I don't know.
Caramel.
Caramel. Fine.
Pecan.
Pecan.
Tomato.
Tomato. No.
It's getting weird around here. Caramel.
That's I guess that's my too close to American upbringing, coming from Southern Ontario.
Oh, see, I would have said pecan too, just to go with that. But I remember being in the South and being corrected all the time when I would order a pecan, whatever, and they'd be like, no, it's pecan. And I was like, I don't care.
Just give me one of those
It may be
things
yummy.
because they taste good.
Yes. But if you really feel passionate about this, pecan, you know.
Yeah, and I'm not super passionate about
Caramel.
or caramel. However you like to. You're grimacing at me.
I
You
know,
really
it's
don't like caramel.
Caramel, like,
I don't know.
I don't understand that word.
That's just the way I worked.
It's
Sorry.
strange. I'm gonna look at you a different way now. Caramel.
Caramel.
Can I have a caramel sundae, please?
That's right.
Who are you? Anyway, there's lots of caramel notes on this beer.
Maybe some toffee.
Toffee's better. I'm so confused by this caramel thing. It's gonna be the next poll on 613 BeerCast After Dark. Caramel? Caramel.
Sure, come on and tell me how badly I pronounce
But
that
here's
word.
another one. How do you pronounce when you go to the store and you have something that you clipped from the newspaper to give you, I won't tell you the word.
It's a coupon.
You disappoint me so much. It's coupon. I go and I redeem my coupons.
It's coupons.
No, it's coupons.
Well, how do you say chicken?
Coop.
There you go, coupon.
But yeah, but then you add on, so it's coupons.
If you say so.
I'm just telling you what this is, Chuck, okay? There was actually to go on a really strange language tangent, which we knew this was going to happen.
Oh, yeah.
But on Reddit, about maybe 3 weeks ago, on the subreddit R Ottawa, there was a language poll. So this person was trying to determine different regionalities of language use and whether you use one word, coupon or coupon or coupon. It took me a while to
Figure that out. Yeah.
figure out the other word, even though you just said it. And they were trying to figure out: do you go to the what was it? Oh, do you eat a chocolate bar or do you eat a candy bar? Do you drink a pop or do you drink a soda? Those kind of regional differences, right? So they were doing a survey to figure out which parts of Canada use the different words.
And I'm sure they got quite a big
And so I'm
diversions.
anxiously awaiting this. So I took the survey and I put in, it's coupon. And so
But you're saying you put in all the right answers.
yes. And so I'm anxiously waiting to see what the results are and to see that everyone agrees with me that it's coupon. And But I'm sure like Ottawa must have its own regional dialect of or accent, perhaps.
Well, when I go back down to Windsor, I get told that I have an accent now. So yeah,
Really,
I obviously pick something up.
that's funny.
It has been almost 20 years now that I've been in Ottawa, and obviously the pronunciation is different there than in Windsor. I can't discern it.
It's because you still say caramel.
I guess. We have a similar story when we went to New Hampshire, and we were hanging out with a local friend of ours, and a waiter came up and started talking to us, and then said, "Oh, I just watched a documentary on Canada," and we're like, "Oh yeah, well, that's cool, but how did you know we're from Canada?" He's like, "Well, you're obviously from Canada. I can tell by your accent," pointing to me, and that's all he said. And April asked, "Well, what about me?" And he said, "No, just him."
Oh, well, that's nice.
So apparently, I have the Canadian accent, and April does not.
Okay, it's time to travel to another province there, Chuck.
All right. Well, luckily, we don't have to fly to these provinces.
That's
These
good.
ones are
That's
close now.
expensive in
Yeah.
Canada.
Yes, very. So now we can almost walk between these provinces.
I actually looked at. So speaking of going out west, I looked at a friend of mine is hosting a beer festival in British Columbia, and I was like, that sounds amazing. I would like to go. I looked at the flights. $1,000 is what it was.
Yes.
I looked at the flights from New York to Los Angeles. Half the price, if not more. I was like, how? It's so difficult to fly anywhere in Canada.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. Well, I'm traveling to Las Vegas, and I'm traveling to Las Vegas for less than I traveled to Vancouver earlier this year.
It's insane. How am I supposed to try all the beer if it costs so much? So I'm guessing we're going to Nova Scotia.
We are going to Nova Scotia, and another familiar name.
Yes, actually, this one is familiar to me. So I've actually been to this brewery. Shocking. So as soon as I pour it, I will. Wow, these are all beer styles I don't enjoy.
Right, yeah, we haven't seen an IPA yet.
I'm so upset. So this is the collaboration with Nova Scotia's Garrison Brewing Company. It's called a New Scottish Ale. In Latin, Nova Scotia literally means New Scotland. To celebrate Canada's Scottish roots, they brewed up a light peated Scottish ale.
If they call that light peat, they are certainly Scottish.
Oh wow, that's even the aroma has a bit of a whiff of. I remember we had a Scottish ale not so long ago here. It was the Amsterdam one, wasn't it not?
Yes, we did have the
It did not have this aroma.
No. So, from what I understand, and I haven't done enough research to really say this with confidence, but the peaty part of it is not really traditional to Scotch ales.
No, it is not. You're
it
right.
sort of was added to sort of bump up the Scottishness of, or Scotchness.
And I guess that makes this why it's the New Scottish Ale. So going back to Garrison Brewing Company, there was one of the first breweries I went to outside of Ontario, perhaps. I went there with my parents.
Nice.
Yeah. I took them on a road trip out east, and we stopped in, had a few beer, and it's a nice brewery. I'll be honest, I don't remember very much of it now. It was so long ago, maybe about 5 years ago.
Right, yeah, and we went a couple of years ago, and it's a large brewery.
Yeah.
It was our last stop on our whirlwind tour of Halifax.
But I remember when I went to Halifax, I was actually there. The one I was looking forward to the most was Propeller Brewing Company.
Yes, we also visited them.
Because at the time they had their pumpkin ale.
Nice.
Which I really enjoy. And at the time I was all about all the pumpkin ales, so I had to buy that. But I remember I feel like the Garrison has a really great location, if I remember correctly.
It's right on the water.
That's it. Yes.
Yeah, it's a fantastic little park, sort of walking park and things to do. And there's a bunch of other little shops, and then there's this big brewery right at the end, or might be at the end, or it might be just where I stopped walking. But they're very nice people as always, and we were able to walk in and sample a bunch of beers and got to see some of the beers that you don't see outside of that area very
Right.
much. Because we know them for what is it, their IPA that makes it out here most often,
Yes.
and but they have a lot of other stuff going on there, and it's always fun to visit breweries from outside of your town and see what they're doing differently.
So when you were in Nova Scotia, did you do anything like touristy?
Well, so we were only in Halifax for a day. We were staying in New Brunswick, so I know a little bit more about New Brunswick. But in Halifax, the touristy-ish thing really was we walked by a few of the key landmarks in the downtown area
Okay.
on our way between breweries. Like we went to Propeller, and then sort of walked around there and walked up towards Rock Bottom Brew Pub for lunch, and then a couple other breweries, and then ended at Garrison. I'd love to go back because when I say whirlwind tour, right, like I mean it. We probably spent 7 hours total in Halifax proper, and that's not enough.
No, it isn't. No.
And I'll go back at some point. It was nice to visit quickly though. When you're already halfway there, we were already in St. Stephen, New Brunswick. So
That's the thing about a lot of places in Canada, though. It's such a big country that it's hard to be able to visit everything that you want to see and everything you want to do. Like I remember when I went with my parents, we actually drove all the way from Ottawa, went through that whole area of Quebec City, through New Brunswick. I think we stayed at Edmundston, New Brunswick.
yeah, that's where we stayed.
Yeah, that seems to be like the in-between point.
Yeah, it's just outside of Quebec City, and it's a nice little stopping town. They have a brewery there too.
Oh, okay.
Le Petit Saut.
I think that was before my time.
Yeah,
Well,
they're
after my
relatively
time,
new.
rather.
Yeah.
And after we left there, we went to Nova Scotia. We drove around. We went on a very scenic drive. We stopped at a fish smoking place
Oh, nice.
where they smoked obviously where they smoke fish. Thank you, Katie. And we picked up some great stuff to eat. We had fresh lobster, which was super fun,
Yes.
off a place like a hole in a shack by the road. And in my experience, usually those shacks tend to be pretty good.
Yes, so we did have a similar experience in PEI.
Yeah. And I remember having a really great time. And yes, I did do the Alexander Keith tour.
I did too.
there.
I thought it was very worthwhile. The beer is better there when you're drinking it locally.
Yeah, you know what? I actually had my parents decided to take the night off of Katie because I get it. It's fine. And so I actually spent. This was I think actually it may have been actually more than 5 years ago. I think maybe I was in my late 20s.
Well, we had that revelation when
yeah.
Brewery Market started 6 years ago.
I know we're old, and so I think maybe I was in my late 20s, and I decided to spend my evening at the Keith's Brew Pub because I really enjoyed the vibe, and I had their food actually was pretty decent at the time. I don't know how it is now, but I was enjoying chatting with people, and once you get me starting to talk and you feed me beer, it's hard to turn that off sometimes.
It turns into a podcast.
It does. If only I had known back then. Okay, Chuck, where are we going now?
All right. Well, a second last one for tonight is the
Yes.
island.
Ooh.
I sort of gave a quick hint at that, saying we went there. So
Yes.
yeah, again, we did in fact visit PEI. The lobster shack is familiar, but in PEI they include fresh oysters. So we had fresh
That'd be
oysters
amazing.
and fresh lobster.
See, that's what we're missing in Ontario. Here we don't have. If you're having fish in Ontario, or seafood like lobster or anything, you know it's frozen. You know it's not good. There, when you go there, the seafood and the shellfish.
No, it's not
so
the
fresh.
same. But there are places in Ontario where you can get fresh fish.
Yes.
It's freshwater fish, and it's not quite the same as fresh lobster and fresh oysters. I'm not comparing it.
No.
But when you go the Tobermory Bruce Peninsula way, the whitefish there, it's a nice fish.
Is it?
Yeah.
See, I guess maybe I like shellfish more than I do actual fish. Well, I think my favorite fish perhaps is the fatty salmon.
Oh yes.
I love
And
love
tuna.
me a good salmon. Yeah, tuna is also good. Lean tuna, yeah.
Yes.
To speak more about this beer, this is from PEI Brewing Company. It's a Bière d'ici honey ale. So PEI may be a small, well, maybe a small. PEI may be small, but is often known as the birthplace of Confederation. Brewed with local PEI honey and maritime-grown hops, this brew is a lighter take on the Bière de Garde style.
Oh, interesting.
Again, not an IPA.
Not an IPA. Bière de Garde is not a very popular style.
No, it is not.
It's a hard style to do right, I find.
I haven't had that many of them to actually know.
The Skokie, I can't remember its full name, from Sawdust City a couple of years ago when they did it, was a very nice one that I found. Was fun to drink. So again, this is a brewery that I did in fact visit when I was there.
Yeah.
We did another. It wasn't a whirlwind tour of Well, I guess it kind of was but we ended up spending a night there, and then left later in the day, and so we went from PEI to Nova Scotia. So it sort of went back to back.
Did you go on the long bridge that they have?
We did.
That's pretty exciting. I would love to, on my Canadian bucket list, driving on that long bridge is on it.
It is a nice view, like seeing the wide open ocean as you're driving over it is pretty cool. I think you're right. I think making it a bucket list, I think is
It's a fun thing to do, right?
Absolutely.
And I think it's something that it kind of just shows you how far out Canada goes sometimes.
Yes.
But yeah, I remember when they were building it. I remember when they were announced that it was open. I was a kid or I was a young adult, perhaps. I forget when it opened.
Yeah, I remember when it opened as well. So it is relatively new in that sense. I mean, we're not that old.
No, but I think before that it was a ferry, right?
Yeah, and the ferry's still there, and you can take the ferry as well.
Oh, so that you can go by bridge one way and ferry the other way.
You can. You can go across to the PEI on the bridge for free,
Oh, okay.
and then you have to pay to get back.
Sneaky PEIers.
That's right. Now, if you never leave, you never have to pay.
So I have a question for you, though.
That's right.
So a friend of the podcast, Sasha, from Ottawa Beer Events, is a Islander, and she claims that they have the best potatoes or something like that.
Well, I'm not a big potato fan.
You're not a potato fan?
Not a big potato fan. I don't hate them.
I'm so confused by this because, I grew up as a typical Canadian, meat potatoes.
I think that's probably why I don't like them, because I also grew up that way.
But I love them when you have this butter, or okay, not really butter, margarine in my case, growing up. Salt and pepper, it's great.
Maybe just overserved.
I feel like we're gonna have to have a Chuck meets potatoes.
No, we've had, and we don't have our research assistant here today.
No.
If April were here, she would be backing you up quite heavily. She's a big potato fan, so she also tries to convince me that potatoes are worthwhile having.
They're the best.
In every meal.
Yes. I'm
You know,
so disappointed in you, Chuck.
I can have small amounts of them, and I like them.
So what you're telling me is that I shouldn't give you any coupons for potatoes.
Well, no, you should give me all the coupons you have, because I'll just pass them off to April.
But I was going to ask you if that, being in PEI, where they supposedly have the best potatoes, are the patins better with the best potatoes?
I did not have a patin in PEI.
Do they have patins in PEI? Or are they just so overwhelmed with all the shellfish and all the seafood that they're just and we're just going to put a lobster on top of this potato?
Well, when that actually did happen. There are lobster patins on the East Coast. I'm not sure if there were if I saw that on PEI or if that were in other spots on the East Coast. But I did see that. There are lobster pizzas.
See, lobster pizza I can do.
I did, and it was good. But when I was there, that's kind of what I focused on, was give me the fresh seafood. If it has potatoes, I don't really care because that's just filler. I'm here for the food.
See, you don't appreciate the potatoes like we do.
No, I don't. I will fully admit that.
Have you ever had powdered potatoes?
I try to avoid those.
Have you had them though?
It, I want to say yes, but I can't remember for sure, and I'm not sure if that's because I blocked it out or if I just never actually had them.
Wow.
I know I've had the dried scalloped potatoes.
I hate scalloped potatoes so
Yeah.
much. They're the worst thing alive. Or not alive.
Well, that might have been part of the reason why I'm not a big fan. I had
Okay.
a lot of those.
Last province here, Chuck. Where are we going?
We're going to maybe the friendliest. I don't know. That might be a claim.
Wow.
Well,
Maybe you just made a lot of friends in like the last province.
I have. I have been there not to visit breweries,
Okay.
but I have been to Newfoundland once.
I'm guessing by the style of this beer, I might enjoy this one the most.
Is that an IPA?
No, it is not. But
Uh-oh.
it is a hoppy Hefeweizen.
Hoppy Hefeweizen. So we haven't even seen. So we have went through the entire 6-pack, and the fear was everybody would want to produce an IPA, and there is not a single IPA.
I'm very disappointed in you Canadian breweries, or Eastern Canadian breweries.
Well, I guess we'll see. This
We'll see if this-
hoppy.
this-
Would this be a Hopfeweizen, or they just
Maybe,
haven't
I guess.
called
I
it
don't
that?
know. I don't know.
Oh,
Oh, I like that. Oh.
there's a lot of hop
That's-
smell on that.
Yes, I'm happy now. So this one, so this is from Quiddy Viddy Brewing Company, which if you say it a few times, you're not going to be able to say it again. Called Hop to the East Hefeweizen. So this is Canada's most eastern province, which is Newfoundland, and taking a northeastern take on the Hefeweizen style. This beer was brewed with a new age tropical hops to give a fruity aromatic twist to the classic German style. Which makes me happy.
Oh yeah, and you'd be happy with the flavor of that.
Hello, hops. And this is two styles I really like. So you have
Yeah.
you do have the Hefeweizen, which I really enjoy. I find that it's a refreshing style that I love all those yeasty, yummy flavors.
Exactly.
Then you add in the splash of hops, and I'm a hop head, so that makes me happy no matter what.
And that banana clove kind of thing is still going on there. You're not hiding that at all.
No.
So you're getting everything you expect out of a Hefeweizen, and then a little bit more.
So I have a question for you, though.
Sure.
Out of all the beers here,
Yes.
which is your favorite and which most... Well, I wouldn't say that. No, I take back the which is your favorite.
Okay.
Which most represents their province?
Good question. I would say the most local ingredients is probably the Beau's upper reaches. I was going to say upper peaches just because that would have been the right pun to use
Oh,
if
no.
you were going
We
to
don't
do
do
it.
beer puns here.
But Ontario does have a homegrown peaches. And,
Yeah.
Lots of spruce trees. So that might be the most clearly appropriate ingredients. The Nova Scotia Scotch Ale was also a very nice
Okay.
touch.
So I was actually going to say the new Scotch Ale was probably what I would say would be my favorite take on the provincial style beer. I enjoyed all of them. I would say I'm going to be honest here, guys. My least favorite is probably the one we just had, the one from Newfoundland.
The hoppy one that you thought was
I know.
gonna be
I enjoy it as a beer drinker. When I think of tropical hops, this does not represent Newfoundland to me.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yes.
Yeah, so I enjoy it as a beer drinker. I don't enjoy it in this pack.
Okay, I understand what you mean by that, and I can't really argue that. Yeah, that's what is representative of.
I'm sure there's something like I know when I think of Quiddy Viddy, from what I understand of the brewery, they're the ones that bottle in that distinctive blue bottle.
See, maybe this is the first brewery on this pack that I have never had any
I've
experience.
only heard of them, and I may be wrong. I may be cutting all this out because I'm speaking shit. But we'll find out later if you hear this. But I believe they're the ones who do an iceberg beer. So they brew from the water of the iceberg.
Oh, okay.
And so I would have liked to have seen more of that and seen more local flavors, more local, I guess, am I going to say it? Terroir in their beer. They're just borrowing off of other, like, traditional beery things, like stuff you can get order off a catalog. Whereas the other breweries definitely did take things and made their own spin on them.
Yeah, I will agree with. It is a pretty typical style with I don't feel there is a provincial twist on that one.
No.
Maybe the hops are locally grown and that's cool, but I don't think that's come to the forefront enough.
Yeah, so I would have liked to see a bit more Newfoundland in that. And I will admit, I've never been to Newfoundland. If Newfoundland is Hefeweizens and tropical hops,
then
I need to go
corrected.
there. I apologize.
The only time I've been was in the winter, and we went to St. John, and we basically stayed indoors the whole time because their downtown is basically a series of tunnels and walkways. About 6 or 8 blocks, so that you never have to leave and go out into the bloody cold.
But see, that I feel like you'd have like tunnel ale or something like that, or like you could have something fun with that.
Yeah, you could probably done something fun.
But anyway, I don't live there. It's not my beer to make.
No.
I actually did enjoy drinking this beer. It was an excellently made beer.
That for sure, I'll back that one up. Every beer in this, I would buy the 6-pack again in a heartbeat.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
And have every beer again.
And the concept is great. I really enjoy it.
Yes.
So I think we're going to end this podcast here. Yes, there are 6 more beers in this pack. We will be drinking them.
Oh, absolutely.
But you're probably going to hear from us. So this podcast is coming out the Monday, post Canada Day Monday.
Yes, but it's recorded before Canada Day.
Yes, it is recorded before Canada Day. Don't make me do weird beer math in my head.
Especially after 6 beers.
I know. But we're going to be recording another podcast, not tonight.
No.
With the West Coast, or West beers.
Yes, Manitoba and West.
Yes.
Including North.
North.
Yeah.
Including Yukon, Northwest Territories.
That's right.
Should be fun.
I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah.
Hey.
Jinx, you owe me Coke.
Not a beer?
Okay, guys. I hope you have a great Canada Day.
Yes.
Whatever you're doing, if you dare to challenge the crowds over at the Parliament Hill, or if you're at a cottage, or if you're like me, you're at Dominion Day, I hope you had a great time.
Or at Funkfest
or
like me.
Or at Funkfest, yes.
Come visit. If you're at Funkfest, come say hi.
They're not going to be able to. It's going to be over by now.
Oh, right.
So
I hope you came and said hi.
But I hope you had a great time. Hopefully, maybe we cheersed, which is great. But I hope you had a fantastic time with great beer. So, Chuck, if you wouldn't mind leading us out.
All right. Come join the conversation. Come pick on our pronunciations over at 613BeerCast After Dark on Facebook. And follow along on Twitter and Instagram at 613BeerCast. And
we'll talk to you next week.